All right, we're on. Hey guys, it's your boy Aaron from Flick Street Productions, and for those of you who like Choices books, I'm gonna be doing a retrospective one of one of a Choices classic, the Fast and Furious inspired Ride or Die. And I'm not the one doing this right here. Over with me, I have fellow Choices fanatic and avid reader Jason Carroll.
Well, yeah.
Carol, we're gonna be this. So for those of you choices readers who haven't read the visual novel, here's the basic synopsis about Ride or Die. Ride or Die focuses on an 18-year-old classmate, an 18-year-old high schooler in Los Angeles. After a wild night when she attends a party, she ends up being waylaid by a street racer named Logan, and soon enough, and after the escape, she ends up running afoul of his group of a street gang racing group he belongs to. And as she befriends the gang and she gets to know them, she starts to end up getting involved in some of the activities, leading her to real, despite the fact that her father, a police detective, is trying to hunt them down. The link and things get more complicated when she learns that when she thinks that she might be used by them. So, so Jason, let's start with you. When you first read the book, what got you? What made you like it?
Well, to be 100% honest, when I first started this book, I was intending to use it as a diamond mine.
Really?
But yeah, it was early days of choices for me. And the whole ride or die bad boy romance thing kind of led me to believe that there was going to be, just one like bad boy love interest. And I wasn't really interested in that. So I thought, hey, this is a book I could just go through, do some diamond mining. Now, generally, I am like dead set against that. But this was also, like I said, the early days. So, but I ended up starting the story, and then, as the Mercy Park group and Ellie became closer, the friendships formed, the relationships, you
Mhm.
know, romance Mona, you could romance Holt, I think his name was.
Colt. Yeah, there's three love interests. There's the bad boy in question, Logan. Then there's the second bad boy, Colt Conoco, the son of the street gang's leader, um, Con Tepe Kaneko, I believe his name is. But yeah, Tippy Kaneko. And then the third, and because all multiple love interest games have a female love interest, your female love interest is Mona, an ex prisoner who's part of the street gang.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you were saying,
Yeah, as they developed their friendships, the relationships kind of fell into place. I got intrigued by the story, and I kind of got sucked in, and I was like, okay, this is no longer a diamond mine.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And one thing I want us to start with is I've already talked about what the story is basically about. One thing I like to do with main choices interest is that I always like making like a game to find like to determine what the influences are. Because one thing about lots of choices books, you can the choices books is finding out what their influences are, because they seem to take a lot of inspiration from like what's popular in like TV and movies and draw from that. From for writer excuse me, for Ride or Die, I see lots of influence from the Street Racing element. Reminds me a lot of um, Need for Speed, but the two major influences I get from it are Fast and Furious, and especially the cult classic '90s movie Point Break. Um, if you haven't, have you seen the Fast and Furious franchise?
I've seen the first three movies, I believe, and I'm
Good,
100%.
good, 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 good. The reason why I bring that up is because if you watch those three movies, you can discern that kind of like illegal yet familiar yet charming element. Those charming elements from those movies are integrated into Ride or Die. As for Point Break, the influences I take from that are is that it's about Point Break is about an FBI agent who undercovers a group of robbers who are like daredevils who are all a group of daredevils who also like rob stores and such for like the thrill of it all. And as the FBI agent gets involved in it, he wonders if maybe like is this stuff for him? Like that original movie had like Keanu Reeves in it, and I see some of that with Ride or Die as well. And I think you see it too with like how although the guys are bad guys, they're very charming, very friendly, and they make Buffy. My name for the main character is Buffy. They make Buffy feel like she's one of the. They make her feel like she's one of the group. They make it feel like that she's like getting experiences with them that she's never had before. Like that, like they're letting her drive cars. They're like helping her get her license. They're basically helping her acquire things that her father tries to deny her, but not in a bad way.
Mhm.
You see what I mean?
Definitely.
So what do you think of that?
100% spot on.
Yeah, and but at the same time, with Buffy's father, Detective Wheeler, you definitely he might. One thing I like about him is that it seems like he's just denying Curtis for the sake of it because of how dangerous it is. But you also get a good reason behind it because not only does he love her, he's worried about losing Curtis the way he lost his wife because his wife died in in a hit and run accident that he never got to solve. And again, with Buffy, he feels like history's gonna repeat itself if he lets her drive.
Yeah, he was kind of sheltered her.
Yeah, in a way. And so but yeah, and um yeah, and one thing I also like is one other thing that drew me in is that I like to look for commentary and choices books, and the commentary I get that's actually pretty good about this is that it kind of like explores the fine line between like doing what's right, doing what's wrong, and seeing if there's like a line in the sand between, and whether or not you can straddle that line without losing yourself. Because that's what basically Buffy tries to ends up dealing with. Like, although the game provides her a sense of relief and companionship she's never really had, even with her two friends, Rhea and Darius. There's also the fact that she's missing out a lot in life, and she feels like they at least, even if they're not good people, they at least give her that kind of aspect. They at least are willing to help her out with that, whereas her father and I think even her friends won't.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I also like how that's also explored with how the rival gangs go about them, especially like the one by Jason, especially when, and then there's also like Jason Shaw who enters the group. Like, what do you think of him when you first met him?
He always seemed a little bit shady. Like he was kind of pushy. Like he wanted, like he knew more, but he wasn't saying it. Which,
Well, it's kind of how it is as a police detective because you have to be careful with what information you divine when you're one.
it
I,
went a little deeper than that.
okay,
I felt that he was, I
like
felt like shady.
yeah, definitely, especially when he tries to use Buffy as an informant behind her dad's back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it definitely pays off when we learn that he's the culprit, and that if you give him said information, he uses it back on you. Like, I know about this because you gave it to me. Like you give it to me as my informant. But when you like start denying him information, I think he goes all I thought you were my informant. I thought you trusted me.
He cuts her off either way, I think, but
Yeah,
divulge any information or not, I think the story goes that he cuts her as an informant. I
yeah.
feel like it's been a few months since I've last been through the book.
Yeah, me too. And I've only chosen the one option to give him the information. That was back when I didn't know better. Yeah, and as far as the love interests go, what are your thoughts on each one, and which one do you think is superior?
Well, I liked Mono, but however, I want to preface that by saying you don't really know what you're going to get in the ending beforehand.
Yeah, definitely. And what do you think of Colt?
I never bothered with Colt.
I'm not talking about as a love interest, but as a person overall. Like take away the fact that you get to romance, that you have an option to romance him. Well, how is he to you as a character?
He's pretty, he's okay.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like he's also like a secondary rugged bad boy type.
yeah, definitely. And well, the main one is Logan. Is Logan. Yeah, Logan's kind of torn between like wanting to run the Mercy Park crew, but doing so could compromise being with Buffy, and being with Buffy, who makes it clear has his heart. As for Colt, his role has been more complex because although his father tries to put him on a straight and narrow by putting him to college, I think Colt starts to feel a little resentment towards his father because of how he's on the lines of I want to run the crew. Like, why wouldn't you let me? Oh, you want me to go to college and be a good person? Well, you didn't do that when you were young, so why should I? And he also feels a lot of resentment towards Logan that Kaneko kind of sees him as his second in command, whereas he thinks that Colt thinks she should be it by default, given that he's his son, and that's kind of how most people see things. Like when they start something up, they want like one of their children to succeed them when they can no longer go on. As for Mona, I actually consider her the most complex and somewhat morally ambiguous. To better paraphrase it, it has to do with the fact that she throws in with Shaw towards the end. But the way she does it is that it's based on her own, but her own belief that as a criminal you have to like look out for yourself and no one else. Even though street gangs are supposed to look out for each other. Um, and 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 you get kind of sense that after the Brotherhood crew is exposed, that's Jason and his detectives. Um, uh, um, exposed. It's kind of mentioned that but Marvel was never going to really let Colt, Logan, and Buffy die. She was just going to wait until the last minute and then shoot them all dead and then rescue them because doing so would have been slap not doing so would have been slap in the face to how she feels about Buffy, if throwing in with Jason was indeed for her own survival.
Yeah, I don't know. That kind of put a bad taste in my mouth the first time through that happened. I was kind of like shell shocked by that. And, yeah.
Yeah, but again, you do, but there's some backstory to that because Mona trusted a girl that she liked and ended up in prison with her, which led her to believe that I'm a survivor. At the end of the day, I can only look after myself because no one's gonna help me because in my opinion, no one's gonna help me when I need it. So why should I help others when they need it? And
Yeah.
that gets challenged as well because of Buffy and Mel shows that because after like the others tell Jason screw this I'm out here and leave, he tries to kill Buffy to buy time for him to escape, but Mela tackles him, gets shot in the abdomen, it has to be taken to the hospital before taken to the hospital by Buffy if they choose to, and Jason escapes before getting arrested by the FBI.
Yeah, but I remember them springing a trap and
That's why I meant.
getting
Uh, that's why I meant. Like he gets arrested because Buffy plays on the fact that Jason cares about his wife. Like if Jason didn't care about his wife, he would just grab the car and left the city. But because he left his wife and tried to make it go away with her, Buffy plays on this to trap him at his house.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the kind of cleverness in her planning. Like it was the fact that although Jason seems to think he has no conscience, he does have one. His wife, he loves his wife and wouldn't just leave her in the lurch like this. Uh, You there?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there is one thing about Colt that I do like that makes him stand out. Is the fact that he likes motorcycles instead of cars.
Definitely gives him more of the bad boy type vibe.
Yeah, definitely, sorry, yeah, and plus there's also a bit, and I shouldn't put them to the side, but but I actually really like Zamina and Toby, the other members. I believe you do too.
Worse.
Yeah, I think you even said that you wish that Zamina was a love interest.
I would have romanced her.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like Toby gets a little wasted given that he's just a tech guy. I would have liked if he like could like multitask. Like he could drive while like doing tech stuff while driving, or while doing stuff from a car.
He's the tech upgrade guy, more or less.
Yeah, pretty much. And Zamina, I feel I don't feel like she gets a lot to do in the crew from what we know of her.
He was the muscle.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. She's definitely more buff and fit than the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, and plus she's also a talented tattoo artist.
Oh yeah, I remember a premium where you can get a tattoo.
Yeah, yeah, entire an entire arm tattoo if I remember.
Yeah, that was an option, I think. I think it
Yeah,
was a I think I got that.
yeah, and as far as the cars go that the main character that Buffy is offered with, which one did you like the most? Was it like the older one or the supercar one?
I don't remember. I bought one of the premiums. I don't remember which
Yeah.
one.
The two premiums are the supercar variety. The non premium one is kind of like the choicest version of a VW Beetle. So basically, it's an older model.
Yeah, I would have to go back on my one of my
I still remember
recordings.
that pretty well. So I kind of feel like we have to bring this up, but only thing I'll bring up is what do you think? How do you think Jason stands as a villain?
Well, I think it was definitely a shock to find out that he was the leader of the Brotherhood. That
Yeah,
he was
yeah, and
I
that
knew shady, like I said earlier, I knew there was something shady about him,
and that
but finding out that he was the leader of the rival gang was kind of like a big, like, oh my God,
yeah.
kind of
Not to mention that the rest of the gang is comprised of the other members are basically his task force.
right. Dirty cops
Yeah, yeah. It kind of reminds me of like have you played Need for Speed Heat or heard about it?
I have like one or two of the Need for Speed games, but I haven't really played many video games. I mean, I still have Resident Evil 4 remake that I haven't played in over a year.
Okay.
So,
Jason and his task force reminds me of like the main antagonist from Need for Speed Heat. It's a police lieutenant named Frank Mercer. Like what he does in that game is kind of similar to what Jason does. Like he tries to take out the street racers, but instead of like, he basically goes after them to like shake down money from them and like shake down money from them that they make from street races, and also like take away their cars. But instead of like impounding them and letting them pay a huge fine to get, he steals them, takes them away, sells puts him in a chop shop and prepares to like send him off to his private collection. Jason does a similar thing. Like he tries to take down the street racing, the NPC, but he tries to like blackmail him to like gain things for them, like money and cars and such. Basically, because it's also implied that they do it not just for like the personal gain, but also because there's like a certain illicit thrill they get in all of this, especially with Jason. That's another thing. I think that's another criminal element that's explored well by Dyer. Like, what does the criminal lifestyle give you? Is it because you're just a bad person, or do you do it for personal gain, or because or because there's a dangerous daredevil thrill that you get from it that you can't get anywhere else? You also see this kind of thing with like bad boy relationships. Like a good girl gets with a bad boy because by getting with them, there's a danger and a thrill that they want to get from it.
oh, it's a classic trope. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's also like I said, that's explored with Jason. Like that's a bit of more ambiguity you get with Jason. Like, is he doing this because he likes it, or is it just like a side thing for him, or does it give him like an illicit thrill that he never knew he wanted, but now he wants more of it.
Hmm.
And
Can't
plus,
really you can't really ascertain his motives, right?
yeah,
From the
yeah, kind of what the same with Mona in her and what she does with Jason. Like, is she doing it because because she doesn't care about the crew more, or is it because he promised her safety he promises her safety because I get the implication that he plans to after he kills Buffy, he's gonna pass Mona off as his informant so that she can be spared. But even though it's clear that to him she's still part of the crew and thus still a loose end.
Mona had a fear of vulnerability, and he
Exactly.
definitely, like,
Yeah.
he probably was able to read her. He may have been that type that was able to read and see he had, problems being vulnerable, didn't really want, she had those fears of being screwed over and had the criminal mindset. I
Yeah.
only look for myself, and he probably played to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and plus, as far as vulnerability, it's also implied she has a fear of going back to prison, and he basically like provide her a way out from that. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, and okay. And now there are two more things hoping we can touch on, and I know you're gonna have a lot to say on this. Is what did you think of the ending?
Oh boy, this is opening a can of worms here.
Okay, take it easy, man. I know you're disappointed that never got a sequel, but try to restrain yourself just a little bit if you can.
I'm with like three-quarters of the fandom, I'm sure. But it definitely was left the way it was because it was intended to have that second part. That Andrew or somebody did on the story loom, one of the story loom lives, they,
Yeah,
you know, synopsis of what book two was supposed to be, and that just would have wrapped up the story incredibly.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And but all the same, are you do you believe that book one didn't feel like it was completed for if it doesn't feel like that while left room open for a sequel could have been result did feel like it had good resolution at the end because I know that in some aspects it doesn't feel like it because Mona's on her way back to prison. Colt has to go underground for a short while, but he tends to rebuild the crew with probably with Zamina and Toby, and while Logan has to leave California for good, so that Buffy's father won't track him down. Whereas Buffy leaves the group behind for good and decides to head for the and she still has the car that they left for her, which is now fully repaired, and she decides to leave California and go pursue college on the on the East Coast, a la like the side that includes like Washington and New York and such. And I know that kind of leads things in a bit of a bittersweet spot, but truth be told, if it did end up, but truth be told, I can't really see much of a better way that it could have been resolved as a standalone novel.
Uh,
Do you think that do you think that if it did end as a standalone novel, it should have ended a bit differently?
I think so. I think if they didn't have a plan in place to continue it, they probably would have said, okay, we've got to give it a more rounded out ending rather than leave it so ambiguous as it was. Take Best Served, for example. Book one of Best Served was just the worst, most abysmal thing to ever see. Like, so unexplained, and like you just couldn't imagine a book ending that way. There was an uproar within the community, comments on Facebook, Instagram. I don't really follow them on TikTok or X or Twitter or whatever the
Oh,
hell it
well,
is.
yeah,
But
I definitely agree. However, we can no longer say that because Choices has a part two coming out that's gonna like ending that's gonna continue and end things properly.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm saying, like, in that case, the point that I was trying to make with that is I think the plan was always to have a book too.
Oh yeah, oh definitely, oh definitely. In fact, I could definitely see them like not so much going bigger with the sequel, but like expounding upon what was already established. Although even though time would have passed by.
It was obviously in the plans. Look, that ended in December. It's releasing in May. That obviously was in production and in the plans. They
Oh
wouldn't start fresh with a brand new script in January and have it fleshed out by the time May comes. It generally takes about a year for a book to come from concept to
yeah,
be released.
yeah, definitely. And so yeah, that's basically what's got me to writing my fanfic sequel using the info we have from the info that Jason and Andrew told us about. Um Andrew told us about because I feel like and that's what I'm going to be doing my fanfic. I'm gonna like write it out and give the series the proper send off it deserved, similar to what those people did who made It Lives Within did. They wanted the
I,
It Lives series to have a proper ending, and those who've read the book from beginning to end have said that that even if it's not a canon sequel, it does just that. It ends the series off on a proper note.
that's what I'm hearing, and I keep meaning I've got to play that.
It's okay. All right, man. I understand that if you're not interested in pursuing it, but I'm telling you what I hear from people.
No, I just said like 3 times I need to play that.
I hear you. I hear you. So, so overall thoughts. How do you think that Ride or Die holds up as the choices, as top tier choices, if not a classic?
Definitely a top. I don't know that I'd go as far as to call it a classic,
Well, I'm not calling it one.
but it's definitely a good book. I would definitely recommend it, suggest it.
Yeah, and what things about what things about do you think still hold up well? Like what do you think gives the book a ton of staying power if you had to pick any out?
I say it's the camaraderie and the love and the friendship between the Mercy Park crew.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's where you get the kind of influence from Point Break and the Fast and Furious because the whole family togetherness, despite the
Yep.
illegality.
Yep, despite the quirks, despite the differences, they're a family.
No kidding.
And that's what makes it absolutely special.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, I work on the story for the fanfic sequel, I but I assure you, man, I'm gonna get to it, and I'm gonna get to it. In fact, I'm actually planning to release it as an audiobook instead of written fan fiction because because I'm starting to like doing my to like doing audiobook readings more. So I think that would do better.
Now, weren't you at one point in time doing one of those for Veil of Secrets?
Yeah, but I recently canceled production on that because things just started to fall apart all over the place for me. So I had to drop it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
I'm sorry to hear about the problems and everything.
Yeah, that's why I'm referring to audiobooks because that way I it can make things a bit easier for me.
Is there any way that the work could be transferred to an audiobook or
You're talking
for the
well,
Veil?
yeah, I do plan to tackle that, but not at the moment.
Understandable.
So all in all, choices. So Ride or Die is definitely still a great choices book, and I definitely plan to revisit sometime soon, and nice to hear it still holds up today.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks for joining me, man. I'll go. So thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you, Jason, for coming on board. I'm really glad we got this all out.
Me too. I had a blast.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you later, man.
All right. See you later, Aaron.